Coming to your this education part, right? I think, see, in what at least I'm aware, and back then, if I talk 25 years back now, right? I think education was probably not given that much importance, right? In a normal family, 25 years back, I'm talking about. You coming with a lot of experience, right? Today, as you said, like, was education given a lot of importance in your family, or it was more important to go out there and work and get experience? What was more important?
It started
Because
with
as
education.
you said that immediately, I think after graduation, after 12th, you started working.
No, after I graduated.
After I graduated in 2000, sorry. So you took an internship and you started working. Probably did not go for higher studies or abroad, as you mentioned, or whatever, right? So what was given more importance at that point?
So I think it was education, undoubtedly,
Okay.
because that was a non-negotiable. It was like, बाकी तुमको जो करना है करो, पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा.
Okay.
That was not an option, because I think they were progressive enough to see that if you want to build any kind of future for yourself independently, then you will need to be educated. It doesn't matter what you're educated in, you need, the field is of your choice, but you need to know things. So I think that was a must-have. I think in my dad's side of the family, I'm the first postgraduate.
Acha.
So that's
Okay.
I think most of my cousins probably graduated and married. It didn't matter male or female. That was a standard.
That was a standard.
That was a
protocol
standard
back then, yeah.
protocol back then. For somebody to actually say कि नहीं मुझे ये सब कुछ नहीं करना है. For now, I first want to like see what life is all about. And it wasn't even allowed. It's that nobody asked. Not that they didn't care. It was not questioned in the sense कि why are you doing this? Shouldn't you be doing that? It was more like अच्छा ये करना है. Okay, let's figure out how to do this. So it wasn't like there was no support. There was a lot of support, but it was in whatever direction we chose as kids.
Abhi, so that was back then in your life. What do you think is happening today with kids similar to what age you were back then? Is there a difference that you see in terms of parents giving freedom or giving ultra freedom or giving no freedom? Or is there too much pressure on you have to study this, or you have to go abroad for higher studies, or you have to do this course or whatever, is there something that is changing today in education or in parents and in students?
See, one is that change is inevitable. You have to move on with the times. And most people as parents would also want to do that, right? Even my parents were keeping up with those times. So I think, I don't know whether change is never a bad thing. So you can't really compare two different eras and say कि तब तो ऐसे था, now it is more pressure. Definitely the world is more competitive. You need to be more out there. So I don't think there's anything wrong in kind of prepping your kid for it.
Okay.
See, the kid is too young to maybe till a certain age to make life choices. Now, in the name of freedom, if you decide that you will not nudge them in the right direction, then it's of no use, right? By then it might be too late. आपने बच्चे को बचपन में नहीं बोला कि तुम पढ़ो, बाद में जाके उसको realize होता है कि यार पढ़ लेना चाहिए था. So then what is the point?
But I think from where I'm coming is also where we read a lot about, and this I'm not just talking about South Mumbai or something.
No, generally.
In general, what is happening in India, right? Where many students or many kids are being pressurized that, okay, there is a certain social pressure and there is a certain family pressure that comes along कि अच्छा ये पढ़ना ही है, then only you will get a job, फिर ही नौकरी मिलेगी, छोकरी मिलेगी or whatever, आगे life बढ़ेगी, basically you will get something, and if he wants to do something else that can be probably cut off from his wants or as a career, right? When he wants to start a startup or he wants to do something, then gets cut off, but you have to get to a certain level, you have to go and get a job, you have to do this for the family, etc. So don't you think that is increasing quite a bit than what it was earlier?
Yes, it is definitely increased, but then the competition is more. Life in general is much harder and a little more complex. Today, as a small child, you are exposed to so much information, which for somebody like me, I would have had to go to a library, open an encyclopedia, make notes, go to a library to read old newspapers and try and cull together information. Now that's, if times have moved on, if information by itself is available on fingertips, then isn't it better to teach a child to channelize it correctly and use it correctly? I think till a point where as an individual you are capable enough of making your own choices, of deciding what path in life you want to take. And irrespective of what path in life you want to take, see, today somebody might want to be a performer, somebody may want to be an actor, somebody might want to get into the creative arts, do something different. But yet there are certain life skills which are non-negotiable. Like you will need it irrespective of what you do. I think the very, very basic is how to navigate through life, through complicated situations. वो आप कुछ भी कर रहे हो लाइफ में उतना तो आपको स्किल आना पड़ेगा. इट डजंट मैटर वेदर यू कैन सॉल्व कॉम्प्लेक्स क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशंस और नॉट. दैट skill may not be required, it may not be relevant for most of the population, but just the fact that you've had to deal with that shit in life, you might be a little more equipped to deal with other shit also.
Got it.
So-
But ये experience से ही आता है. This
ये
cannot be
एक्सपीरियंस
taught
से ही
or
आता है, इट
something.
कांट बी टॉट. सो हाउ डज one actually create formal structures to provide a child this experience? So hence I guess our entire education system has taken that shift to probably make it a little more experiential for the child. The courses are better, the exposure is better in general to what a kid is learning. And yes, you have to deal with complex situations because life is complicated. Today when you step out into the real world, let's say post your 10th, 12th, you want to go outside and study, you need to be able to deal with moving into a foreign country, finding your feet. I'm not talking about figuring out how will you fund yourself and all, I'm not getting into all of that, but simply you need to be able to plan your breakfast, lunch, dinner. आप घर पे रहते हो तो your meals are planned for you, your laundry is planned for you, it's kind of life is planned for you, but then suddenly you are on your own and you have to have the necessary skill to be able to plan that for yourself. Whether you choose to do it or not, that's okay, I'm not commenting on that part of it, but पता तो होना चाहिए.
Exposure is important. Talking about exposure, since you brought this up, probably going abroad for studies or something like that. Yesterday I was at this event called HULT organization, HULT Prize. It's a global forum and a global event where they invite startups, students basically who are working on ideas on startups which are fitting into the SDE goals, the Sustainable Development Environmental Goals, right? And wonderful event. These startups, these students had come from various countries: Nepal, Nigeria, Mexico, USA, Australia, Indians. Talking to these students, they were so very well equipped and they were so very well structured in their head, that they knew how to deal with a foreign country coming first time to India, and how to navigate around, how to talk to people. I was talking to Australian students, Australian startup founders, students who had come, and they're like, we landed and it was, we were finding it difficult initially because we landed at 3 a.m. So just for the first 2-3 hours when there was no one, we found it difficult. But as we started moving around more, as the day started and we started meeting people, etc., they were so warm, humble. We found our way. We found our way how to come to the hotel, how to come to this building. We also had pani puri.
That was risky.
So they love taking those risks. They want to get that exposure. So there was another girl from Portugal who was hosting, who was in the hosting team basically, and I was asking her that, don't you have a problem if you're going to eat so much of spices, masala, Indian food, paneer and papad and stuff like that, or whatever vegetarian also they would be having. I'm like, no, I mean, I love this. I don't mind having. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm just going to go all out and eat because I'm liking the taste. So I don't mind what happens the next day or later on or something, but I'm going to love it. So they are taking a lot of risk. Now someone like me, I was very much risk averse in all these kind of things. I'm like, I don't want to, like, I like my comfort food, Mumbai mein, at home, etc. I think now, as you said, right, I think times are changing. People are wanting to take that new exposure or getting that new exposure, and they are getting that experience out of meeting new people, out of going to different countries, experiencing different cultures and diversity. I think that's very important for today's generation. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, I think you make a valid point in that sense.